Most people look at a city skyline and see the work of architects with fine point pens and expensive blueprints. They see the glass, the steel, and the finished geometry of a modern metropolis. But they're wrong. They're looking at the final act of a story that started in the mud. Before the first glass pane was ever polished, before the first steel beam was ever bolted into place, a silent titan had to arrive on site. We're talking about a machine designed for one singular, brutal purpose: to beat the Earth into submission. It wasn't just blueprints and bravado that built the world around us. It was raw power, engineered into colossal blocks of iron. In this video, we aren't just looking at tractors. We are exposing the 5 legendary dozers that fundamentally engineered the way we live today. These are the machines that didn't just move dirt, they moved history. We're talking about the enablers of civilization. The machines that turn chaos into order, turning rugged vertical cliffs into high-speed rail lines, and stagnant swamps into the foundations of our homes. From a wooden-tracked mudwalker that saved the California economy to a 150-ton Japanese behemoth so large it shouldn't technically exist, we are unearthing the true legends of heavy iron. And you'll definitely want to stick around for our #1 pick. It's a machine that solved a design flaw so catastrophic and so expensive that it changed the very shape of the construction industry forever. Let's get into the iron. Coming in at #5 is the machine that started it all, the Caterpillar 60. To understand why the 60 is a legend, you have to understand the nightmare of construction in the year 1905. Back then, if you wanted to move Earth, you had 2 options: a team of horses or a massive steam tractor. The problem was, those steam tractors were 15-ton paperweights. They were built with massive, heavy wheels that worked fine on hard-packed dirt. But the moment they hit the soft, peat-filled soils of California, they didn't move. They just sank. Farmers and engineers were desperate. They were literally watching their investments disappear into the mud. Enter Benjamin Holt. He realized that if you couldn't change the ground, you had to change the way the machine touched it. He replaced those useless wheels with wooden Caterpillar tracks, and the world of construction hit a turning point. But the legend truly arrived with the Caterpillar 60. This wasn't just a tractor. It was the first real civilization builder. For the first time in human history, one single man sitting on a steel seat could do the work of 50 laborers and a dozen teams of exhausted horses. Engineers began bolting crude cable-operated steel blades to the front of these 60s, and suddenly, we weren't just farming anymore. We were pioneering. The 60 was the machine that cut the first transcontinental roads through forests that had been impassable for centuries. It replaced the backbreaking labor of the shovel with the relentless grind of the engine. Archival footage from the 1920s shows these machines belching thick, black smoke, their steel tracks screaming as they stubbornly pushed through terrain that would have killed a team of horses. This was the genesis of the giant, the exact moment we realized we could physically reshape the planet to our will. At #4, we moved from the pioneers to the rebuilders, the Caterpillar D9. As the smoke of World War II finally cleared, the world was left with a staggering task. Cities across Europe and Asia were literally in ruins. There were mountains of rubble where neighborhoods used to be. At the same time, the United States was about to embark on the greatest construction project in human history, the interstate highway system. To build a world on this scale, we didn't need a pioneer anymore. We needed a war machine. Introduced in 1954, the Caterpillar D9 took the brutal lessons learned from clearing jungle runways in the Pacific and turned them into a 300-horsepower powerhouse. This was the king of the hill. But if you ask any seasoned mechanic what made the D9 a legend, they won't just talk about the engine. They'll talk about the sculpting. Before the D9, blades were mostly gravity-fed or pulled by cables. The D9 was one of the first to truly master the heavy civil era by integrating massive high-pressure hydraulic systems. Suddenly, the blade wasn't just a blunt instrument for pushing. It could tilt, it could angle, and it could bite into the earth with thousands of pounds of downward pressure. The D9 became a symbol of post-war industrial might. From the rebuilding of war-torn Tokyo to the carving of the massive Eisenhower tunnels through the heart of the Rocky Mountains, the D9 was the workhorse of the mid-century. If you see an iconic photo of a massive earth-moving project from the 50s or 60s, chances are there's a D9 sitting right in the center of the frame, moving the earth so the rest of us could move forward. Now, for #3, we have to talk about sheer, terrifying scale. This is the Komatsu D575A, better known to the world as the Superdozer. By the late 20th century, the demand for earth moving had split. We needed precision for highways, but in the world of megamining, we needed something else. We needed a monster. The D575A is that monster. Let's put the scale of this thing into a perspective that actually makes sense. The Superdozer stands nearly 16 feet tall and weighs over 150 tons. To a normal person, that's just a number. To a job site manager, that's the equivalent of taking 3 fully loaded Boeing 737s and condensing them into a single block of vibrating steel. The blade on this Japanese behemoth is twice as tall as a grown man. In one single pass, it can move 90 cubic yards of earth. That is the equivalent of moving the entire volume of a standard shipping container in one go. But it wasn't just built for the sake of being big. The D575A was a marvel of specialized engineering. It featured a massive ripper on the back that could tear through solid virgin rock like it was soft clay. This machine changed the economics of mining forever. It eliminated the need for expensive and dangerous blasting in many parts of the world. It allowed for mega projects that were previously thought to be physically impossible, like the massive land reclamation projects in Japan, where entire islands were built from nothing but sea and stone. The Superdozer proved that in the world of construction, sometimes size isn't just an advantage, it's everything. It is a testament to the idea that if the mountain won't move for us, we will build a machine that can push the mountain out of the way. Coming in at number 2 is the global benchmark, the Caterpillar D11. While the Komatsu we just talked about was the largest, the D11 became the legend for a different reason: reliability and the high drive. In the 1980s, Caterpillar introduced a design that, quite frankly, looked a bit weird to people who had been in the industry for 40 years. It was the elevated sprocket design, the triangular track shape that has now become iconic. But this wasn't an aesthetic choice. It was a fix for a multi-million-dollar problem. In heavy construction, the undercarriage is the most expensive part of the machine to maintain. Dirt, rocks, and mud grind away at the gears every second the machine is moving. By moving the drive sprocket up and away from the ground, Caterpillar did something brilliant. They protected the most complex parts of the drivetrain from the shock loads of hitting boulders and the abrasive nature of the mud. This design didn't just make the machine last longer, it made it modular. In the world of high-stakes mining, downtime is a 4-letter word. If a dozer breaks down in a coal mine, it can cost the company $50,000 every hour it sits idle. The D11 was engineered so that a team of mechanics could literally swap out an entire transmission or a final drive in the middle of a field and have the machine back to work in a single shift. But the D11 also led the precision revolution. This is the machine where brute force finally met smart force. Modern D11s are equipped with 3 DMC and GPS telemetry that is so accurate it knows where the machine is on the surface of the Earth to within a single centimeter. The D11 changed the role of the operator from a driver to a system manager. It's the machine that builds the modern world's infrastructure with a level of efficiency that Benjamin Holt could never have dreamed of in his wildest fantasies. And finally, we reach number 1. But this isn't just one model of machine. It's a revolution. We are talking about the rise of the autonomous and electric titans, specifically the Caterpillar D6xe and the command systems. This is the number 1 pick because it solves the ultimate nightmare of modern construction: the human factor and the environmental cost. For 100 years, the power of a dozer was measured by how much black smoke it blew into the sky. But the legends of the future are defined by their silence and their intelligence. The D6xe is the world's first high-drive electric drive dozer. Why does that matter? Because of torque. A traditional mechanical engine has to rev up to get its power. There's a delay. But an electric drive provides torque on demand. The moment you touch the controls, 100% of that power is delivered to the tracks. It's 35% more fuel efficient, it has fewer moving parts to break, and it provides a level of precision that makes traditional dozers look like ancient tools. But the real legendary status comes from the command technology. Imagine a job site at 2 in the morning. There are no lights on. There are no operators in the cabs. Instead, a fleet of fully autonomous dozers moves in perfect eerie synchronization. They don't get tired. They don't take breaks. They don't make mistakes. We are witnessing the birth of a new era where the unseen force of civilization is becoming truly invisible. These autonomous titans are the direct descendants of the old wooden-tracked 60, carrying that same spirit of stubborn innovation into a world of smart cities and renewable energy sites. They are the final bridge between the grit of the past and the technology of the future. From the mud-caked tracks of the early 20th century to the silent, GPS-guided precision of today's electric iron, These 5 legendary dozers have been the actual backbone of our civilization. They are the machines that turn a vision into a reality. They are the silent titans that cleared the way for our schools, our hospitals, and the roads that take us home. The next time you drive down a smooth highway or walk through a skyscraper, take a second to remember. Underneath all that concrete and glass is the ghost of a machine that had to fight the earth itself just to give us a place to stand. The world is not just built, it is sculpted. And as long as we have a vision for a better tomorrow, we will have a legendary dozer leading the way. Thanks for watching.